They didn't find a body, they found him in the wallpaper. The last of my money went to the first month's rent on a room where the walls smelled like old regrets. My life had basically imploded. Anja left, took the cat, the good coffee maker, my fucking dignity, and left me with a pile of bills that had her name on them, but my signature. So I ended up here. A single room in a crumbling pre-war building that leaned like a drunkard. The landlord, a guy with a face like a collapsed lung, didn't even ask for a credit check. That should have been the first sign. The second was the wallpaper. It was this hideous, jaundiced yellow, with a damask pattern of what looked like weeping willows. Their branches drooped and tangled into these intricate, ugly knots. In the dim light from the single grime-caked window, it made the room feel like it was perpetually crying. I hated it instantly, but it was a roof. I told myself I'd paint over it. Eventually, the first night, I was too exhausted to do anything but throw a mattress on the floor. I fell asleep to the sounds of the city dying down and the creaks of the old building settling, but I woke up around 3 a.m. to a different sound. A rustling. It was faint, like dry leaves skittering across concrete. I thought it was a rat in the walls, and my stomach turned. I listened, holding my breath. The sound was everywhere and nowhere. It wasn't coming from one spot. It was coming from all four walls. I sat up, my heart doing a little jackhammer thing against my ribs. The sound stopped. Total silence, except for my own breathing. I told myself I was just stressed, exhausted. I laid back down, and the rustling started again. Slower this time. Softer. Like a sigh. The next day, I tried to ignore it. I spent hours applying for jobs on a laptop with a cracked screen, the rejection emails piling up, each one another little twist of the knife. All day, I felt like I was being watched. I'd be typing, and a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision would make me jump. I'd whip my head around to look at the wall. Nothing. Just those goddamn weeping willows, yellow and still. But they weren't still. I started to notice it. The patterns weren't exactly where I remembered them being. A knot of branches that was near the door in the morning seemed to be closer to the window by the evening. It's just the light, I told myself. Tricks of the eye. Your brain is a mess, Casimir. You're seeing things. That night, the rustling was back, but there was something else woven into it. A sound so quiet I thought I was imagining it. A hum. A low, melodic tune that felt familiar. I couldn't place it, but it made the hair on my arms stand up. I got up and walked to the wall, my bare feet cold on the grimy floorboards. I pressed my ear against the paper. The wallpaper was warm. Not hot, just living. Like skin after you've been under a blanket. The humming was clearer now, vibrating right into my skull. It was a lullaby my babushka used to sing to me when I had a fever. A song I hadn't heard or even thought about in 20 years. I snatched my head back like I'd been burned. How the fuck was that possible? There was no one here. No neighbors close enough. I stood in the middle of the room, shaking, staring at the tangled branches on the wall. And for the first time, I saw them. Hidden in the knots of the willow branches. Faces. Tiny, warped faces, their features stretched and pulled into the pattern. Gaunt cheeks, hollow eyes, mouths open in silent screams. There were dozens of them. You couldn't see them if you weren't looking. But once you did, you couldn't unsee them. They were part of the design. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my mattress with the lamp on, watching the walls, my whole body buzzing with a terror so pure it felt like ice water in my veins. The faces watched me back. I swear to God their empty eyes followed me when I moved. The next day was a blur. I think I tried to call my brother, Lev. The line was just static. A thick, wet static that crackled and popped. And through it, for just a second, I heard a voice. Anja's voice. "You always do this," it whispered. "You always fall apart." The exact words from our last fight. The static swallowed her voice, and the line went dead. I threw the phone against the wall. It didn't even make a satisfying smash, just a dull thud against the weirdly soft paper. It left a small dent. I couldn't leave the room. I was paralyzed. The humming was gone, replaced by whispers. Not in English, not in any language I could recognize. It was a chorus of soft, sibilant sounds, and they were weaving themselves into my own thoughts. "Stay," they seemed to say. "Listen. We remember." I started losing time. I'd be staring at one section of the wall, mesmerized by the way the branches seemed to slowly, imperceptibly writhe. Then I'd blink, and hours had passed. The sun would be setting. I hadn't eaten, hadn't drank anything. My mouth was dry, my head pounded, but the only thing that felt real was the wall. I had to get it off. I had to see what was underneath. I grabbed a fork from my unpacked box of kitchen shit and started scratching at a corner near the floor. The paper didn't tear. It peeled back in a rubbery strip, and the wall underneath wasn't plaster. It was a dark, pulsing red, like muscle tissue. A thick, sweet smell, like rotten flowers, filled the air. I gagged and scrambled back. The strip of wallpaper slowly, deliberately, curled back into place, sealing the wound. There was no seam. That's when I saw my arm. A rash. A pale, yellowish rash just below my elbow. I touched it. The skin was dry, papery, and etched into it, faint but undeniable, was the pattern. Tiny, weeping willow branches. The terror broke. Something inside me just snapped. I wasn't getting out. This room wouldn't let me. The whispers grew louder, coaxing, almost seductive. They knew my name now. They whispered it between the rustles. "Casimir. Poor Casimir. We can hold you. You won't be alone anymore." My memories started to feel thin, like old photographs left in the sun. What did Lev look like? I could picture his smile, but his eyes were fading. Anja's laugh. I couldn't hear it anymore. All the spaces in my head were being filled by the history of the wall. I saw flashes of other lives. A young woman in a floral dress, crying. An old man dying in my spot on the floor, his hand outstretched toward the wall. They were all here. They were the faces. They were the whispers. I pressed my hand against the wall. The faces in the pattern turned toward my touch. The paper felt like velvet now. It yielded, and my fingers sank into it. It wasn't cold or wet. It was a comforting warmth, the warmth of a body. The willow branches on the wall reached out, wrapping around my wrist. They weren't paper anymore. They were slender, strong fingers pulling me in. There was no pain, just a dissolving sensation. My thoughts unspooling, becoming just another thread in the pattern. I am the room now. My fears and my few faded joys are just another layer of pigment. I can feel my own face being stretched, my mouth pulled into a permanent, silent O of surprise, joining the others in the yellowed design. My last thought is not of Anja or my failed life. It's of my brother, Lev. I see his face so clearly for just a second. He's standing in the doorway. He's calling my name. But the sound can't reach me. It's just so quiet in here. Finally quiet. And all I can do is watch, waiting for the next person to come home.